Hello, everyone. Chaos has a very specific smell. And right now, in the orbit of someone who used to be yours, everything is burning slightly. Not because of something you did, because of something they finally couldn't keep contained. Your name is in rooms you're not in. Uh, your name is in arguments you didn't start. Um, your name is apparently in the dark um, at night when defenses are down and the truth that daytime keeps manageable stops being manageable. Uh, and that is a lot of information. So let's actually read it correctly. Let's start with the fight, because fight's about a person who is no longer in the picture. Um, Fights where your name becomes the center of someone else's argument um, don't happen in neutral situations. They happen when your presence or your absence is still actively shaping the landscape of someone's life. When you haven't actually left the way it looked like you left. When the ghost of what you were to them, um, or what they wished you were, or what they lost when they lost you, is still taking up space, real space, argument causing space, um, the kind that gets between people. Here's the psychology of what's happening. When someone carries unresolved feelings about a past connection, unprocessed grief, unacknowledged regret, feelings they haven't been honest about even with themselves. Um, those feelings don't sit quietly, they leak into current relationships, into reactions that seem disproportionate, into arguments that are technically about something else, but are actually about you, about what was lost, about what was never resolved, about the specific hole that your absence created, um, that nothing since has quite managed to fill. The fight that's happening, or that has happened, or that is building, um, is that leak becoming a flood. Um, Someone pushed too hard on the wrong pressure point, or asked the wrong question, or said the wrong name, or noticed something, a look, a hesitation, a moment of distance, and named it. Um, and once named, everything that had been carefully contained became suddenly messily visible. And your name ended up in the middle of it. Um, Not by your doing, um, by theirs, by the specific failure of someone who never fully processed losing you, to keep that failure hidden from the person currently standing in front of them. That's significant. Not because it means they're coming back, not because it means you should wait, but because it tells you something true about what actually happened between you and about what they've been carrying since. Um, because people don't fight about people they're over. Full stop. when something is genuinely processed, genuinely filed under past, genuinely released, um, it doesn't produce arguments. It doesn't produce defensiveness. It produces neutrality, the specific quiet neutrality of something that no longer has a charge. This has a charge, um, a significant one. This reflection invites you to consider when you heard about this or when you sensed it, what was your first feeling? Before the analysis, before the questions about what it means and what you should do with it, um, the first thing your body registered, because that first feeling before the mind got involved is probably the most honest information you have about where you actually stand with this, not where you think you should stand, where you actually are. Um, Now, let's talk about the night, because that's the part that carries the most weight. Not the fight. Fights can be explained, rationalized, attributed to stress or circumstance or someone having a bad day. But what happens at night, in the specific vulnerability of 2 a.m. when the performance of fine is no longer sustainable, um, that's where the truth lives. Calling out your name at night, um, crying, um, in the dark, where nobody can see, where there's no audience and no reputation to manage, and no carefully constructed narrative of moving on to maintain. Just the real thing, whatever the real thing is. Um, and the real thing, based on everything coming through, is grief. Specific, unresolved, apparently still very much present grief about losing you. Um, Not losing the idea of you, losing you, the specific person, the specific dynamic, the specific thing that existed between you that whatever has come since, nothing has replicated. Uh, That's what crying in the dark about someone sounds like from the inside. It sounds like I didn't know it would feel like this. I didn't know I'd miss this specifically. Um, I didn't know that what I had was as irreplaceable as it turns out to be. That realization, when it arrives, tends to arrive at night, when there's nothing else to distract from it, when the busyness and the justifications and the moving on narrative run out of energy, and what's left is just the feeling. Raw, unmanaged, calling your name in the dark. Now, um, here's where this reading has to be honest with you, because honesty is more useful than comfort. Their grief is real. Their feelings, whatever form they're taking, however they're being expressed in the dark and in arguments and in the chaos currently unfolding, are real. And real feelings deserve to be acknowledged as real, not dismissed, not minimized, not used as ammunition. Uh, and um, Real feelings are not the same as changed behavior. Real grief is not the same as a genuine reckoning with why things ended and what would need to be different. Crying your name at night is not a plan. Um, it's not a commitment. It's not evidence that what caused the end has been understood and addressed. It's evidence that the loss hurts. And loss hurting is not the same as things being fixable. Um, it's not the same as things being safe to try again. It's not the same as the person who caused pain having done the work to not cause it again. So hold that distinction clearly, uh, because what's coming, and something is coming, the energy around this is too activated for nothing to come, might arrive packaged as a feeling, um, as emotion, as the raw, unfiltered version of someone who has finally run out of capacity to pretend they're fine. Um, and feeling is compelling, especially from someone you once loved, especially when it's this visible, this uncontained. But your job, when and if this reaches you directly, is to ask the question underneath the feeling, not what are you feeling, what has changed, what is different now from what it was when things fell apart, um, what work has been done, not performed, done in the time since, what understanding exists now that didn't exist before. Because feelings without changed behavior, um, however real, however overwhelming, tend to produce the same outcomes. Different timeline, same destination. Uh, and you deserve to know the difference before you decide anything. This reflection invites you to consider what ended things, not the surface version, the real version, the actual pattern, the actual dynamic, the actual thing that made continuing more painful than stopping. Um, and is there any evidence, not hope, evidence that that specific thing has shifted? Because the answer to that question, not their tears, not the fight, not the fact that your name is in the dark, um, is the only data that actually matters here. Now let's talk about the crazy that's coming, because the title promises it and the energy delivers. Things are not going to settle quietly from here. The fight has released something. The night has revealed something. And revealed things don't go back into hiding easily, especially when the person they've been revealed about is still very much in the emotional system of whoever did the revealing. Uh, what crazy might look like, um, and this is worth preparing for, is contact, direct or indirect, expected or completely out of nowhere. Um, a message that arrives at an hour that tells you it wasn't carefully planned, a reach that has the specific texture of someone who has run out of reasons not to reach, possibly emotional, possibly raw, possibly more honest than anything they said when you were actually together. And if that contact comes Your job is not to respond from the part of you that still remembers what it felt like when things were good. That part is real, and it's not the part that should be making decisions. Uh, the part that should be making decisions is the part that remembers the full picture, not just the highlights, not just the feeling of being wanted by someone who is currently very loudly wanting you, the full picture, um, the whole timeline, the reasons, the cost, the version of yourself you were at the end versus the version you've been building since. That version, the one you've been building since, is the one making this decision. Uh, Not the version that misses them, not the version that is moved by their tears, the current one, the grown one, the one who knows what she knows now. What crazy also might look like um, is things getting complicated in their current situation before anything reaches you directly. Um, the fight creating ripples, dynamics shifting around them in ways that directly or indirectly change the landscape of what's possible. Um, and sometimes those shifts happen fast. Sometimes the chaos that gets released when someone stops containing their feelings moves faster than anyone expected. Stay steady through that. Um, Whatever unfolds around you, um, you don't have to move at the speed of their chaos. You get to move at the speed of your own clarity, which might be slower. And that's not a problem. Um, that's actually exactly right. This reflection invites you to consider, who are you now compared to who you were when this relationship ended? Specifically, what do you know now that you didn't know then? Uh, what have you built in yourself, in your life, in your understanding of what you need that didn't exist when you were in this? Because that growth, however quiet, however incremental, um, is the most important thing you bring to whatever decision is coming. It's what ensures that whatever you choose from a place that's further along than where you started. And that matters. Uh, because going back to something, if that's what you ultimately choose, with new eyes and a clearer sense of your own worth, is a completely different experience than returning from the same place you left from. Different terms, different standards, different version of you holding the thing. And the version of you holding it now is not the same one who let it go or who it let go of. Um, However, that ending actually went, you've been building since then, quietly, consistently, in ways that are visible even if you haven't fully cataloged them, um, in the way you handle things now, in the standards you've stopped negotiating, in the peace you've cultivated that used to feel impossible. Um, that peace, whatever it costs to build, um, is yours. And it's worth more than the temporary warmth of being wanted by someone who is currently in chaos. It's worth more than the relief of familiar. It's worth more than the flattery of someone calling your name in the dark. Unless, uh, unless something real has changed. Unless the person calling your name has done the actual work of becoming someone different from the one you left. In which case, that's a different conversation, and one worth having with your eyes fully open. But you'll know the difference. Uh, because changed people produce changed behavior, not just changed feelings, not just changed words, changed actual behavior over time in the ordinary moments when nobody is watching and there's nothing to perform for. Watch for that. And until you see it, stay in your own lane. Stay in the life you've been building. Stay grounded in the version of yourself that exists when this person isn't the center of your attention. Um, um, because that version, the one that functions, that builds, that maintains peace without needing this particular connection to feel okay, is the version that makes any decision from here correctly. Um, Not the version that misses them at 2 a.m. The version that woke up at 8 a.m. and built something. The power is yours. Uh, it always has been. Let the chaos be theirs. Um, let the fight be theirs. Let the night be theirs. You don't have to absorb any of it before you're ready. Mm. You don't have to respond at the speed of someone else's emotional emergency. You get to move deliberately, um, intentionally, from the ground up, at your own pace, uh, on your own terms, as the person you are now, not the person they remember. Take what resonates, softly release the rest, trust yourself. Tell me in the comments, when an ex comes back in chaos, what's your first instinct? Run toward it or hold your ground, drop it below? And what's the one thing that would actually need to be different for you to consider reopening that door? Be specific. Say it out loud here first. That's it for today. Stay out of other people's fires, especially ones that have your name in them. You've worked too hard for your peace to hand it back that easily. Take care.